Hey everyone, welcome to Financial Revelations. I am your host, David Safransky. Every Thursday morning, I am on WCRF from 8 to 9 a.m. It's 103.3 in Cleveland, but it's also on the Moody Radio App, and you can listen from anywhere in the world, as I'm sure you do. 1-800-344-2534 if you want to call here. Corey at epsf.com, all scrolling below me. Amazon mission trip, March of 2025, and you can go to nativosusa.org if you'd like to see more information about what we do there. And you can support the trip. We probably got a full boat this time, so I don't think we're going to be taking anybody else. But if you wanted to support the well, it costs about $11,000 to dig a well, all in, food, gas, equipment, and everything. So you could be part of that. What we like to do is we don't make the actual trip a fundraiser. We want to get people there, and then if they want to leave money there, of course they could always do that. But we're going to build a church in the middle of the Amazon. We're going to build a church in Mauez, and so we're going to be raising money for that, and I want you to be thinking about that if it fits into your plans. Now, we are giving away a $250,000. It's going to be a little less, $250 gift certificate for Christmas to one deserving person. Now, we had set this up last week. I don't like any of the responses we got, so I'm the boss. I can change the rules. I often do that. It keeps the employees guessing. I don't change the rules on them. They give me the rules. But so here's what we're going to do. We're going to change the rules. I want you to nominate somebody who maybe is having a rough time at Christmas, the holidays. They need a little bit extra, and we're going to give them a $250 gift card. And I'm going to pick one or two people, probably more like two, and someone who's deserving, in need. And what I want you to do is email Corey at EPSF, scrolling right below me, or maybe flashing. I don't know what Corey does when I leave here. I generally listen to the podcast. I don't watch them just because I'm in the car. So, and also we had a newsletter go out today, or it's going out. So be looking for that in your mailbox. So I want you to nominate somebody. We're gonna help them out in the holidays. It is a tough time. It's for a lot of people. Not everybody is as blessed as we are. And when you think about just if food is lacking, or we're not going to get everybody a PS, 11, whatever's out now. I don't play video games, but people could use a little help. There's still, costs are skyrocketing still. They're still way up. I think one of the misconceptions about inflation is when they say, oh, inflation's only going up at 2%. They think, well, see, inflation's low, but those prices they rose and they stayed there. That's the insidious nature of inflation. It rarely goes back down to where prices were. So now we got to deal with these new and higher prices forever, and they're still going up, albeit at a slower rate, but they're still going up. And if your wages haven't gone up, you're just not. $100 at the store in your car is hardly anything. It's hardly nothing. It's really shocking when you go to the grocery store how little you get for $100 right now. And so people aren't able to eat as much as they were just a few years ago. We've always had inflation. In fact, the Fed is trying to create 2% or there around inflation. So your dollar is going to be worth a little bit less every year. That's why your income has to go up every year. But if you work a job where that didn't happen, it's really tough. So we want to help if we can. Small, but it could be meaningful for somebody. So that's how we are. So let's get to some economics. The Trump transition is in full effect, and it's having an effect. Israel, Hamas, Hezbollah are going to go into a truce, like a ceasefire. They're still going to fire. There's still going to be incursions and things like that. But it would appear to me that the Trump election has caused people to think about peace. Now, the Israelis need to have carte blanche, where if they're attacked, they need to be able to respond. We need to support Israel. They are our greatest ally in the Middle East, and we need to support them. And we're going to do whatever we can to do that. So if they do get attacked again, they're going to unleash a fury that they already have, really. They've decimated Gaza because that's where the attacks came from. And when you start a war that you can't finish, don't be surprised when it gets finished for you. And that's what's going to happen. Also, Ukraine came out this morning and said, hey, we're open to peace talks. Now, they did throw a little caveat in there, which is never going to happen. And they said, if we get NATO membership. And so, the Zelensky has suspended all elections. He's as much of a dictator right now as Putin is. And Putin is probably going to give us some demands that are unrealistic. It's a negotiation strategy. We have to look at it like that. We have to remember that in Ukraine and in Russia, they will say things that are expressly for domestic consumption over there. It's meaningless to us. We shouldn't take it seriously. And this is one of those things. The Ukraine is not going to have NATO membership. We would be in World War III right now, and we don't want that. And we kind of got a little offended when in the 60s Russia wanted to put nuclear weapons in Cuba. They were a little close to us. We did not like that. We did not appreciate it. It almost caused a world war. And think of that same scenario with Ukraine being in NATO. NATO would be right on Russia's borders. They get a little bit of a funky feeling about that. So I can empathize. Doesn't mean we're not going to have some kind of agreement with Ukraine. But these things are happening. Germany, Canada, Mexico, bending the knee at Mar-a-Lago. Mexico said, well, I think we could stop those caravans. Yeah, because the transition team, the Trump transition team, is threatening significant tariffs on Mexico if they allow these people to come all the way through their country and basically assault our southern border. And the same thing is happening in Canada, where we threatened tariffs, and Trump will walk these things through. He will. And Canada knows that. So what did Trudeau do? He flew down to Mar-a-Lago, and there was a funny but not funny joke where Trump said, well, if things don't work out there, we'd just become the 51st state. And I don't think Trudeau really, he probably laughed uncomfortably. He's a kind of an uncomfortable, awkward person. So essentially a lot of people are having their kind of political come to Jesus moment, their road to Damascus moment, where they have to say, look, we're not going to be able to just act however we want and it will be accepted by the United States. There's going to be a cost. And are we willing to pay that cost? And so I think what they're doing is they're coming to the realization is, I don't want to pay that cost. About 80%, think about this, 80% of everything that Canada exports goes where? The United States. They can't afford a 25% tariff on anything. Their economy, they have worse inflation than we do. They have, for those of you who were Trump fans, you would be even less likely to support a Trudeau government than you would a Biden government. They have it bad there. It's bad. And it's not getting better like it is here. There is an election coming up. We'll see what happens. But, one of the things that you could do is if you want to get kind of a vision into what's going to happen here, all you got to do is look to the southern hemisphere, into Argentina, where Javier Milei, the current president of Argentina, is writing a textbook and teaching a PhD class in economics and how to take back your country and do away with inflation. What is he doing? He's getting rid of government spending. Government spending is what creates inflation. Overspending by the government is what creates inflation. And inflation at its simplest form is too much money chasing too few goods. So one of the things that we saw and it wasn't just in the Trump administration, it was before that too, but mainly happening in the Trump administration, is you had increased productivity. And when you do that, you're producing a lot more goods and services. And so you could have more money in the system because it's chasing more goods and services. When you constrain goods and services like the pandemic did, but you don't constrain the money supply, you get rampant inflation, and that's what we got. And for Trump, I think pace of this reform that he's going to do with Doge and other things and government employees, just cutting them, pace is really important. It's probably more important that we get a directional heading at first. And I don't want to discourage people and say, well, the pace is going to be slow, but we got to get the directional heading first, and then we can increase the pace as time goes on, because you're talking about a lot of people coming out of public market, government employees, going into the private sector, and they have to have time to assimilate and be absorbed. Otherwise, you're gonna get some really ugly employment numbers anyway when this happens. Don't get discouraged by that. It's part of the process, and we can look to the PhD class that's being taught in Argentina right now to see what are the steps we're going to go through, and those things are going to happen. They're going to happen. I have one big surprise today. I've had a change of heart. Now, I didn't grow a heart. I always had a heart. I know some of you are going to say that. I have a big heart. It's pumping right now, trust me. But I've had a change of heart on crypto. I don't want to buy outright crypto right now. And it's undeniable that people are making a lot of money. I have two friends, Art and Zach, who told me when Bitcoin was $310, you should buy some. I'm like, I'm not taking advice from you on that. It's like $96,000 right now. Now, to be fair, at that time, there was no Coinbase or crypto exchanges that were reliable and viable. So a lot of people would store their crypto there, and then it would all be stolen. Oh, that was the North Koreans setting up that site. Oh, that was the Iranians. You're never going to get that back. So it was a time, it was the Wild West in crypto. So it wasn't, for me, it wasn't really investable. But now I'm looking at ETFs and ETPs as a diversification tool with crypto. There's a couple that I like that I can't buy them all because we're a little constrained by the platform that we use. If that money is housed in the Caymans, we probably can't use it. It doesn't mean it's bad. It's just they have different reporting rules and things like that. So, but if you could get an ETF or an ETP that has several cryptos in it, now I'm not going to name the individual ones because there's so many of them. I kind of like that. I don't think that I want to put 15% of my assets in it. I think I want to do like 3 or 5. I look at it kind of like I look at gold. If you went to the store today, and they're never going to say, well, we're only accepting gold today, unless there was a nuclear war. So look at it like another version of a precious metal, a hedge against inflation, something like that. That's how I'm looking at it, but I am having a change of heart on this. I am going to start instituting it into portfolios on a limited basis for a limited amount of people. So if you came to me and said, man, if you ever lose me a nickel, I'm going to find out where you live and I'm going to kick TJ and Max, my dogs. You're not getting it. I'm not putting that in your portfolio because I love TJ and Max. They love me. I was walking them the other night. I was just walking around. I have a big yard, all fenced in and everything with gun turrets, so don't get any ideas. They heard a fox, like, what do you call it? Yelping? Yeah, yelping. And all of a sudden, they come out of the tree line, and there's one dog faced in front of me this way and one faced the other way. They're protecting me. So you're not kicking TJ and Max. So you're not going to get it if you're like, oh, I can't lose any money. But if you're a little bit growth-oriented, we're going to talk about that. So I want you to think about those things. It's the holiday season. Make your nominations for a deserving person for a $250 gift card that they could use anywhere, groceries or gifts for a little one or whatever, whatever they want. I want nominations. You got to come through on this. Otherwise, somebody might not eat, and it's going to be your fault. How does that make you feel? I am David Safransky, a real American, a true red-blooded gun-owning patriot, and the voice you can trust.